الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلي وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, Tawassul, seeking a means of nearness to Allah. Its types and its rulings by Sheikh Muhammad Rasuluddin Al-Albani rahimahullah. Allahumma sallim sallim. Chapter 2. Natural means and means prescribed for goals in the Sharia. When we know that al-wasila is the means by which we are able to reach the goal we desire, then we should know that they are of two categories: natural means and means prescribed in the Sharia. After natural means, then it is every natural means through which a person attains that which is desired, being known to him through the innate nature upon which Allah created him. This is common to both the believer and the unbeliever, with the difference between them. Examples of it are water, which is a means to quench a person's thirst; food, which is a means to satisfy hunger; clothes, which are a means to preserve him from heat and cold; cars, which are a means of moving him from a place to place, and so on. As for the means prescribed for the goals in the Sharia, then they are every way of reaching that which is desired, by way of that which Allah the Most High prescribed and explained in His book and in the Sunnah of His Messenger. This is particular to the believer who follows and is obedient to the orders of Allah and His Messenger. Examples of these are saying the two testifications of faith with purity of intention and understanding, since this is the means to obtain entry into paradise and to be saved from dwelling eternally in the hellfire. Likewise, following up an evil deed with a good deed is a means to wipe away the evil deed. Also, supplicating with the prescribed supplication after the adhan is a means of gaining the intercession of the Prophet ﷺ, and keeping ties of relationship is a means for long lifespan and increased provision, and so on. So these things and their like are known to us to be means to attain those goals, being known as such from the Sharia alone, not being known by means of our personal knowledge, experience, or our senses. We cannot know that keeping ties of relationship is a means for long span and ample provision, except from the words of Allah's Messenger ﷺ: whoever loves that the increase in provision should be granted to him, and that he should be granted long life, then let him keep ties of relationship. And likewise with the other examples, many people make a great error in their understanding of these two types of means, something is a natural means to attain a certain goal, whereas this is not the case. Others believe something to be a sharia, a prescribed means to reach some goal in the sharia, whereas in truth what they believe is not true. So from the examples of false and futile means, both in the natural and the sharia sense at one and the same time, are, for example, something which one who walks in a street in Damascus will see very often, that a person set up a small table, and on it there is a small animal like a mouse. Next to it they place a pile of small cards containing some writing which they claim to be the people's fortune. The writing on the card is written by themselves or by someone else based on their ignorance. So two close friends will be walking along, and one will say to the other, "Let's go and see what our fortunes are." So they give some coins to the man, and he lets the little animal choose a card and give it to one of them to read. He then reads what is claimed to be his fortune. So you see the level of intelligence of these people who take an animal as a guide to show them these things which they are ignorant of, and to inform them about the destiny which is concealed from them. If he actually believes that this animal knows the unseen and hidden matters, then there is no doubt that the animal is better than he is. Aywa. If, however, he does not believe this, then it is a useless and foolish waste of time and money, which will not be indulged in by people of intelligence. Likewise, the action itself is a swindle and misguidance, and a means of avoiding the people's wealth in futility. There is no doubt that the people turning to this animal in order to find out the unseen and the hidden affairs is, according to claims, a natural means. However, it is fatal and useless, and experience and intellect diminishes it, since it is clearly only thought to be such due to superstition, ignorance, and fraud. Then, from the perspective of the Sharia, it's also false and futile, since it is contrary to the book, the Sunnah, and the consensus ijma of the scholars. Sufficient in this regard is that it contradicts the saying of Allah, the one free of all imperfections, in praise of Himself. عالم الغيب فلا يدر الغيب أحدا إلا من ارتضى من رسوله فإنه يسلك من بين يديه ومن خلفه رصدا ليعلم من قد بلغوا رسالة ربهم. أي نعم. He alone is the all-knower of the unseen, and he reveals to none his unseen except to a messenger from mankind, whom he has chosen. He informs him of the unseen as much as he likes. Likewise, from those things which some people incorrectly think are natural, means is that if one of them travels or marries on Wednesday, then his journey will be unsuccessful, and the marriage will fail. Likewise, they believe that if they begin something important and then see a blind man or something afflicted, then then their work will not be completed and will be unsuccessful. Also, from the things which many Arabs and Muslims today think to be such means is the idea that by the large numbers of men alone they can gain victory over their Zionists and imperialist enemies, and that in their present state they will able to force the Jews into the sea. However, experience has shown the error and futility of this thought, and that the matter is more profound than to be cured by such special thinking. Also, from the things which they incorrectly imagine to be means prescribed in the Sharia are those actions which some people think will draw them closer to Allah, or the one free of all infection, whereas in reality these actions only take them further away from Allah and earn His anger and wrath for them. Indeed, His curse and punishment. From this action is that some of them call upon the deceased awliya and pious occupant of graves for assistance, requesting them to fulfill needs which they can only be fulfilled by Allah, the one free of all imperfection and the Most High. For example, requesting them to remove distress and cure illness, to bring provision and remove barrenness, and to grant them victory over their enemies, and so on. For this aim, they wipe the metal railings upon tombs and the stones of graves, or they cast scraps of paper into them, upon which they have written their needs and desires. All of these are claimed by them to be means prescribed in the Sharia. However, their reality false and futile, and contrary to the greatest foundation of Islam, which is that all worship is to be for Allah, the Most High alone, and that He is to be singled out with all types and branches of worship. Also, from them is the belief of some of them that a person must be telling the truth if or someone present in sneezes while he is speaking. Likewise, is their belief that if they hear a buzzing noise in their ear, they think that one of their companions or relatives are saying something good about them. Also, they believe that misfortune will descend upon them if they cut their nails at night, or Saturday or Sunday, or the same if they sweep their houses at night. And from these things, if they have good thoughts and intentions about a rock, then it will benefit to them. So these false beliefs and their like, indeed this superstition and false nonsense, superstition and delusions are things for which Allah sent down no authority, and you have seen that they have their origin in fabricated and false hadith. May Allah's curse be upon those who fabricate them, and may He disfigure those who invented them. So we know that the natural means are divided between things which are lawful and permitted by Allah, and things which are prohibited and forbidden by Allah. In what has preceded, I have been given examples of the two types of means, natural and Sharia prescribed, and about which the people fall into error, thinking that some things are lawful and practical means to attain the desired goal, whereas they are just the opposite. I will mention in what follows some examples of natural means which are allowed in the Sharia and others which are not. So from the natural means which are allowed in the Sharia for earning a living and gaining provision are buying and selling, trade, agriculture, and hiring out. Then from the natural but forbidden means are giving loans to be repaid with the addition of usury riba, disguised forms of usury monopolies, deception, theft, gambling, and sale of wine and status. From the proofs of this is the saying of Allah the Most High, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا وَأَحَلَّ riba. Allah has permitted trading and forbidden riba. So both trade and usury are from the natural means to attain wealth. However, Allah the Most High permitted the first and forbid the second.